Mhm. Welcome. I'm going to start this. See who joins. Matt's going to be a few minutes. My location isn't working. We're off and running. Um, I'll jump back to Underdog in a minute. I'm going to just do what I was doing. And while we wait for Matt, and I will go over some stats that I'm looking at for fun. This is just a little background behind the scenes look at the video I'm working on that I started. So yeah, I'll just keep doing what I was doing. I'll put it in a better view. It'll be fun. Matt should be here soon. So right now, what I'm looking at is Rasmus Dahlin last year. Who did he play with a lot at 5-on-5? Who produced at 5-on-5 with him? Something seems wrong. This seems unbelievable. But yeah, no, this is kind of what I expected. Like he kind of just played with everyone and was fine with everyone. Like this is sort of the conclusion I'm reaching with him is that like I don't know who you're playing with Darlene to feel like extra good about the correlation. Basically saying like I don't know if any Saber is inherently a bad pick, but running up the board to get a Tage Thompson, a Tuck, obviously Skinner's gone, but like a Paterka just might be unnecessary. Um, so I'm just kind of looking at the different spots, just kind of the raw stats, the time on ice, stuff like that for each player. That is for the video coming up. While we wait for Matt, and then we'll go over some of his article and whatnot. But yeah, this is kind of what I was working on before. So yeah, I mean a clear cut on the power play. Skinner's gone. Cousins is the next man up. Middlestad's gone. So like I still feel really good about Dylan Cousins, and I mean it's just sort of what they did last year. Like I think it could continue, but these are sort of just some of the very basic numbers I'm working on for the video, which I'm hoping to get out tomorrow. I'm a little bit less optimistic that it's going to be 100% by the time I go to bed tonight, as it would have to be to get it ready for Wednesday morning. So it might be Wednesday night, but that's okay. Well, oh crap, I'm golfing tomorrow. I got to get it done tonight. It'll be ready for tomorrow morning. I'm through the Bruins already, and I'm just gonna struggle away. Just got to make it good. But this is sort of what I'm working on right now as I wait for Matt. Yeah, best buck summer's going great. Feeling really good about everything. The projections were kind of messed up. There was a few players that stood out as not being correct. And unlike ESPN, we don't just publish them when they're not right. So talk to Jay. Jay talked to me and Matt really about everything, and we kind of went over what was going on and ended up, I think, getting things closer to where they need to be. So that video will come out. I'm hoping it should be out by. I'm going to tentatively say Saturday. So the rankings will be out before then, and then I'll do a video on it, kind of going over some stuff. But just sort of like an example of a player was like a Pavel Zaka, I'm actually pretty low on, and he was showing up for like 60 goals, and we kind of figured out why that was happening and stuff like that. Like it's sort of one of those things where it's like, what's wrong? Is it all of the stuff we're putting into it, or is it something else? And luckily, it was something else that wasn't as dire to what was going on. So again, it's going to get together, but just we're not going to tout Trent Frederick as the um what was it 90th player. You know what? Let's actually pull that up while we wait for Matt. Matt should be here any minute, but this might be actually a more fun exercise, and Matt's definitely not going to care or want to deal with my nonsense. So it'll be no more nonsense once Matt gets here. But let's pull up the ESPN rankings. Let's see if they change them or not, but just laughable stuff. So let's put myself down here. Yeah, the ESPN came out with their complete 2025 projections. If you haven't seen this yet, here I'll drop it in the comments if anyone does want to give it a look. I'm not gonna complain myself about any of this. Like, who really freaking cares if you like actually think McKinnon's somehow gonna be a little bit like I think this is at least somewhat like cogent. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to be like, oh, McKinnon's going to be worse, but still better. Like I don't really get that. Like you're already, it just again stupid stuff. But whatever. Let's not get too deep into the weeds on that. Like if this is a fine top six, totally get it. Um, you see some players like Kaprizov that we're higher on. Again, like most of this stuff is pretty minute, doesn't really matter that much. But like as you scroll down and you get to, I think the first player is Zibanejad, where it's like I just nowhere near like to assume Zibanejad's going to be at least a good bit better than he was last year. I think is kind of a fool's errand. And to for some reason say that Jack Hughes is playing 75 games and he's playing 82. It's like they're just not putting a lot of thought into this. It feels like at all. Just like these assumptions are odd to me. Just none of this makes it like it's just like, oh, this player got hurt last year, so like we're diminishing them. That's just again like that's foolish nonsense. It's just not how you do stuff. As you go down the list again, like Toronto is 30th. If you read this caption, it literally says, the Ducks will be looking to get their countless talented young players more involved, which means Toronto's playing time, particularly with the man advantage, is likely to fall. Toronto is a reasonable late round depth pick, but don't pay for past production. That is in this, telling you to take him as the 30th overall player. Like they wrote those words, like it just feels like they have rankings and then they AI generated nonsense and it's garbage. Matt's here now, so the fun will be over. Matt, I was just killing time for 6 minutes while I waited. But thought this would be a good time filler.
Yeah, I'm stunned that you managed to talk to yourself for 6 minutes, seeing as 90% of our phone conversations that last 2 hours sometimes are you talking to yourself.
Yeah, good
My
point.
audio
but
is screwed up, so
it's really bad. Yeah, you fix that. This was really the point I was getting to, though, was the Trent Frederick 90th. It's just like whatever, and again, I'm not going to sit here and
I mean, again, it's categories. It's all about hits for Trent Frederick. Like,
yeah, but they have him for 27 goals.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's insane. But
how many hits? Maybe, I mean, he wasn't even. What was he in hits last year? I
beats me. I don't know.
I don't think he was that high. I don't think he was like he didn't hit.
He wasn't Lauko-esque. Anyway, I'm gonna drop and try to fix this. I'm not sure what the deal is. I've been trying shit, so I might need a full restart, which will suck.
Whatever, I can talk to no one for a little while.
Sounds good.
Okay. Matt will be back again. I'm gonna pull this up really quick. I'm gonna guess 15th in hits. That's gonna be my guess. Why not? It'll be fun. Nope, lower than that. He's not even in the top 25. Well, why am I even guessing? I could literally just go to underdog where it always is. Frederick. It's just bothering me for no reason. 178. That's nowhere. I mean, maybe in the top 50, right? Like somewhere around that range. So it's like, yeah, I know it's categories, but like you're the genesis of this argument, which again, they don't even put an outlook in because he's not worthy of it, is like he's going to score almost 30 goals, have these assists, have penalty minutes, which are going to be massively reduced for some reason, even though he played like 13 minutes average. Like the whole thing. Yeah. Matt, welcome back. Yeah, he's like 178 hits. I mean, that's somewhere in like the 40s, 50s for last year. Like again, like it's a lot better than probably Juraj Slafkovsky, but like, the projection is that he's going to be on that top line with Pastrnak, which is just a silly time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm here. The Frederick thing, I know, got you all razzed up, so I guess that here's your place to vent about it.
I honestly forgot about it until I was like talking about so I was kind of going through my process for my video a little bit because that's what was already up on the screen when I was starting. And I was just kind of going over like silly nonsense. And then I was like, speaking of silly nonsense, let's talk about the silliest stuff. I did put, like I said, put the link here if anyone wants to take a look at these and check them out. Like Michkov has a 0 projection. Cutter Gauthier has a 1 assist projection because, well, of course, I mean, like, it's just there's no thought, and like I don't really care. Like I'm not mad about it as like last year I was like mad about it. Like I get it now. Like they don't care about it. I don't understand why they don't care. I don't understand that part, but they don't. So I'm just not gonna get mad about them not caring. Is that fair, Matt?
I mean, what's the penalty for being wrong? It's not like they're competing against anyone.
No. I mean, that's no. You're right.
Why would
yeah.
Why would they invest in having an actual fantasy hockey person, an expert like do it?
Do you still sound like shit to everyone else, or just me? Anyone here want to? Like, I can't.
No, it should not be. It should not be me. I don't know.
It sounds very muffled.
Muffled?
I don't. Anyone in the? I mean, there's no one commenting. If anyone could comment saying that, yeah, it's not great. Yeah, it sounds as if someone put something over your mic and you're like this.
It's.
I think going through these rather than the mic.
Yep, that sounds good. That sounds good.
All right. It told me my default was the microphone, but it was not. Apparently, it was still the AirPods Max. So, yeah. Anyway, we're good to go.
Okay. So do you want to jump in a lobby now, and then we can talk a little bit about your article, and then we'll just kind of get right into it. My computer's, no matter what I do, it just does not have any interest in allowing my location to go through, I guess. But yeah, you sound good now. There's 3 more, by the way, so jump in.
Okay, I'm hustling.
Still
all right, I'm in.
2. Okay. Still, you must have been 2 more. So
yes.
Yeah, we're waiting on 2. If you want to jump in, Matt, I will mute myself for a second. I've talked for 11 minutes straight. You can go.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so if you are not following me on Twitter or checking into the Discord or anything of that sort, I did post my volume 3 of the Best Puck Manifesto. That is live on my newsletter. I believe it's linked in the description. I know DJ did that last time, so if not, it's pretty easy. I'm on Twitter at Fake Moods. It's my pinned tweet. It's a newsletter, and just find it there. But I dove into stacking. Obviously, stacking is a hot topic across all like fantasy, best ball sports, be it NFL or MLB or even NHL. There's been a lot of questions and a lot of discussion about, how should I stack? Like, what's the best way to stack? Should I stack these 2 people together? Should I, stack these 2 goalies together? That sort of deal. We've covered a lot of those questions on sort of an ad hoc basis on the, on these streams in the Discord, pretty much anywhere. If you've been, listening to us talk, you know somewhat our stances on, stacking and sort of the correlative aspects of Best Puck. And this allowed me to actually dive into the data. It's a really difficult problem because no stack is built alike. It's very different when you are stacking, Owen Tippett with Morgan Frost than if you're stacking Mikko Rantanen and Nathan McKinnon. Those sorts of things matter. And quite frankly, there's no way to individually judge every single stack on the merits, like there is for players or for draft picks. It's much easier to say this is what that was worth, without and doing that for stacking is basically just me telling you that Nathan McKinnon stacks were good. You should have gotten them last year. Does that mean they'll be good this year? I don't know. Is Nathan McKinnon going to go absolutely hog wild for 17 weeks of the season? Maybe. So trying to strip away all of the nonsense, all of the noise, led me to what I think is, a pretty good defense of sort of what we've been saying all along, which is that overstacking doesn't make sense given the scoring format in Best Puck, given you only have 6 players that score per week. Adding a 3rd, 4th, 5th man to those stacks just doesn't pay off. It doesn't lift your ceiling in the way that you might think it would, just on its face. And I dive into a few reasons as to like why that is, and sort of supporting what basically was our priors, because ultimately I didn't find anything in looking at reams and reams of data and sort of ways to cut it that really sent me for a loop. So in the aggregate, stacking is good when you're stacking, a mini stack with 2, it gets really tough to be, I guess, confident that you're correct when you get to the 3, 4, 5 stacks. Of course, if you're right about the players involved in those stacks, it'll work. But on the average, we saw that, getting, even if you picked a player who was a good player, be it, I averaged people who had a 30% advance rate. That's crazy good. Even when you take just those people who are awesome and you look at their results when you double stack them versus when you triple stack them, a double stack is better and a triple stack is much worse, even than the single player unstacked. So basically everything led me back to the same conclusion that mini stacks are the name of the game. And if you read it at the very end, I sort of give my takeaway that I think something that I'm not able to prove is that the schedule has a large part to do with that. Like even if you just think about the playoff weeks, we don't have, too many teams that get 4 games per week. But we have enough that, we're not going to have the Rangers from last year who had 5 games in a week. Maybe that'll happen a handful of times throughout the regular season and, make it so that the best puck regular season is slightly skewed in one of the 17 weeks involved in scoring. But once you capture the 2 best players on a team, which again, if you're drafting 192 players, guess what? You're not taking too many players who are not the best players on their team. So theoretically, if a team goes nuts for a week, you're getting their best players. You have that stack. Good. Move on. If you get the 2 best players, the 3rd player is not all that likely to be better than the best player out of your other 14 picks of the best players in the league. It's just a numbers game, I think. And so that's a main reason that sort of the stacking and correlation doesn't just amplify as you go up to 3, 4, 5 stacks, because it also on the back end, if you don't have those games with 4+ games and you have, God forbid, a 2-game week or a 3-game week, having too many players from the same team sort of sets your team back as far as being able to fill those gaps in the schedule. So that's my stance. I think it was reasonably well supported. You're going to have to zoom in a lot on the charts. I wasn't really able to conceptualize any snazzy graphical like takeaways. It just felt sort of cheap to really narrow the data down to like a single data point. But I think there's a lot of good stuff in there if you go into it with the mindset of, okay, here's what Moods thinks, here's what he's been saying for the last 2 years of us talking about this, and here's how I can connect that data to what he's been saying. And then if you have your own thoughts on it, I think you'll be able to find something that will either steer you more toward my direction or at least help you understand where I'm coming from and the way that I'm playing. Fully realizing that you might be able to find a way to cut the data that shows, actually the intra-week correlation is all that matters. And so these results aside, if you get the players right on the best 3 stack in the league, say, DJ and St. Louis, like if those 3 players are just awesome all year long, of course, it's not really going to hurt you to have 3 versus 2, so be cognizant of that when you're reading it. It's not as straight forward as volumes 1 and 2, in my opinion. DJ, did you get enough chance to rest your vocal cords? I know you have trouble talking for long periods of time.
No, I have not. Yeah, no, that was really good. That's I think that the important thing that so I'm kind of my video that I kind of started talking about is really just going to focus on when you're right. Now I'm going to mention some of these players that are like the top player being picked on each team and that I don't really believe in them. But I think in any draft, no matter what, even if, again, let's say we have rankings that come out or you have rankings internally and you're way off or whatever, in some scenario, you may still draft a certain player. So building for being right is, I think, the most important part. It's not the fact that going back to this chart, which is incredibly zoomed out right now. Let me just zoom back in. What is it really going to matter?
I can, let me, actually, I don't have all my stuff. I don't have all my stuff run in R right now, so I would need to set that up.
Okay, well, I mean, again, I'm just gonna make a very basic point of look at New Jersey, look at Pittsburgh, look at right. You can look at these teams that did incredibly bad with stacking. Of course, Edmonton's a little bit different. And again, I'll talk about that in my video, but you really couldn't stack them the way you might want to. But some of these teams that failed, I don't think it's a bad process to draft 2 or 3 doubles. It's not bad process. It's bad results. Like
It's
like if you're I'll stop there.
It's important to note that this chart is just regular season advancement. Because something that I found super interesting was that I was expecting to run my total EV calculations that I do later. But in order to control for, you know, the Colorados of the world, where just like if you had McKinnon, great, like it didn't matter what else you did. I ran through it sort of like on a player level. And so at a team level, stacking is good in the regular season because you're amplifying your bets on that individual team. But when you layer in things like just simply improving off the baseline of said stack, in the regular season, it does get better. In the playoffs, it gets worse. And that sort of reverse logic. Like if you're thinking of stacking, you would think, oh, in a single week, stacking is better. And it just didn't work out that way. So I found that really interesting. I don't, again, the piece is already so fucking long. Like I wasn't just going to spend, you know, 10,000 words writing every single interesting aspect of it. But I think, you know, in part 3, basically, I sort of summarize why I think the 3 and 4 stacks, even though they might look good, like you're showing here, they might just sort of be, it's not as deep as just get to the final, get to the playoffs and nothing else matters. It's sort of like get to the final or get to the playoffs and then optimize your team to win is sort of where I come down on it. But anyway, you're right. I mean, you didn't say anything wrong. I just want to be, you know, super clear on what that chart is saying and what it's not saying, which is it's not saying if you're right about New Jersey this year, you better have 4 of them. It's not saying that, which is pretty interesting.
Does the graph include goalies?
Yep, that's another difference. That the top chart does include goalies and the bottom charts do not. I excluded them from my player level analysis, and I did not from just the, you know, let's throw team on the map and figure it out. I will say it didn't matter much when I removed goalies, so I just went with the chart that was available to me. And let's see, draft starting. Okay. The goalies question, I didn't find any good logic behind whether stacking was good or bad. I really came out of it the exact same, you know, approach that I currently have, which is like, if I can bet on a team, it's likely that I already think that team is pretty good. So like, why not try to target their goalie? But I will not stack a goalie if, for example, I have, you know, Jacob Markstrom and he has 2 starts in that finals week. And, you know, if I have Austin Matthews on that team, like I'm not going to say, oh, I need Joey Woll because, you know, in the final week of the playoffs, that's a 2-start week. Like that's, so basically both my goalies would have 2 starts. That to me is more important than getting the stack because, oh, New Jersey's going to be good. Goalies are pretty random. I would not say that if New Jersey's the stack you need, that their goalie is going to be all that good for best puck. Look at, you know, Georgiev last year, for example.
Hey. What? Yeah. Good points. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to fix what I'm doing, and all right, I got it the way I want it. Yeah, so we're gonna this is just, you know what, I just think I just got to do it this way. I'll check on the chat as I go here or there, but I need my third screen. Okay. Yeah, everything you were saying is good. I agree with everything you were saying, and yeah, but again, I think the genesis of my point that I was kind of getting to, or my video should be getting to, I guess is the way I should put it, that when you're stacking, I think you have to do it with more intention than maybe you would think. But instead of me going on a big long tangent about that, Matt wrote 10,000 words already, and I think he's only going to write more. So I'm just going to have a lot of fun and make a quick video kind of just giving very face level takes on like, this is how you win with that player. Like every team has almost at least one player that's really valuable. Let's think. What percentage of teams? 80% of teams probably have one really, really valuable asset.
I mean, what do you define What do you define as really, really valuable? Because I would say like maybe 12 teams. I don't think the Buffalo Sabres have a player who's really, really valuable.
Okay.
But Dahlin is obviously very good. So it depends on what you're setting the benchmark to be.
Okay. My benchmark is a top, I would say, 4-round pick. Like, again, like you're investing enough capital in them to where when you're right, it becomes magnified. Again, like Forsberg, who I just took, he was like a 3rd or 4th round pick. When you took him and you were right, it was magnified by taking Yossi. Is that a fair enough way of putting it? Like, and I'm not saying that Forsberg exists this year, but like, let's say Dairu is close, even close. What does it look like when it's close? That's kind of the point of my video.
So
here's
the thought on that. Sam Reinhart obviously wasn't a top 4-round pick last year, but Alex Barkov does not need to be that good for fantasy for Reinhart to still be, completely awesome. So I don't think it's necessarily a given that if Forsberg is good this year, Roman Josi will also be good. Like, it's more likely, but I do wonder if that might be a little bit missing the forest for the trees as far as like what those alphas correlation has to do with things.
Well, okay. So, and again, like every one of these is going to be ADP dependent, though. So, like, I'm not taking like again. It's not like I'll just I guess spoil the Sabres a little bit of like. So, but again, the video that is going to be the top ADP player. What do the next 4 players after them look like as far as draftability to stack? So, pair, spare, beware. Pairing would be obviously that you want to make that move. Again, it's not to say that you want to go up a round of ADP or I mean, like still use all your rules, don't go crazy. Spare is like, okay, you're about at the same ADP. Is it actually worth taking that player to try to capture this upside that you believe in versus another player in that same position? And then beware is like, I'm not buying on this player. I don't believe this player is going to have either A, value, or B, is going to help you really at all. And every one of these is going to be a little bit different as to why. And with the Sabres, it's, let's say you drafted Dahlin. Well, first off, I'm not sure how much I'll have of him. And I don't think it's, again, like I think we talked about this off stream of like, I'm not saying Dahlin's a bad pick where he's going. I just don't think he's an easy selection compared to other players. Like the what's the word I'm thinking of? The opportunity cost of Ovechkin or Dahlin. I'm taking Ovechkin every time. Bedard, Pedersen, Demko, JT Miller. I have I think my highest drafted player is Demko right now, just because if I don't have a goalie at that point, I'm getting Demko. But I have fallen into a scenario where Dahlin falls to a range where I think it's worth it. Right? When that happens, I don't think there's a single Sabre at ADP right now that you should be jumping the line to take. I think all of them are actually not great. And I kind of started the video before you got here, kind of saying that no one actually had this unbelievable output with Dahlin. Like all of them were pretty much right in the middle. Two of the highest players are gone in Middlestad, who was the highest per game before he got traded, and Skinner, who was up there. So it's a bit of ambiguity you could bet on. And again, that's why all of them, I'll just give it away, are all in the spares. Like you could bet on any of them in theory. You could bet on whatever you want to, but people are overdrafting the Sabres because of Dahlin and Tage Thompson. Is kind of going to be my point there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any fully baked thoughts on that topic. So player valuation, that's sort of I guess a nice segue. You mentioned you're going to be writing more. I don't plan to write any more manifestos to that end. As far as these long spanning, longer pieces, I plan on doing more quick hit stuff. And I think a lot of my quote unquote data work that I'm going to try and do from here till the start of the season is going to be, on the player projection, that side of the fence. I'm not sure how I'll go about that yet. I'll probably try and start with just getting prospect data in order to make sure that, I'm fully up to speed on Dakota Gauthier and Matvei Bichkov and sort of these other younger guys who could be relevant, just making sure that I have all my I's dotted and T's crossed as far as, how they compare to other players who've made the jump to quality fantasy producers. Because, the cart's out of the horse is out of the barn as far as me being overweight on guys like that. but I'll be able to tune it back, greatly, because I only have like 20, 22, 23 drafts done at this point in time. So that's sort of where I'm looking to go from here, meaning I'm leaving the door open to the Buffalo Sabres. Like, it's not like last year where I believe there were 4 guys going in the top 50. Okay, give me Alex Ovechkin, please, and thank you.
Yeah. I liked 4 guys a lot right there. Oh, Swayman before Demko and Otter.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, so where was I going with that? I don't know. I was talking and then I stopped.
Come on, take Pettersson. Do it. Is this person auto drafting? I couldn't tell. I think so, right? Oh, they took Caulfield. The Demko versus Ottinger thing is interesting. I feel like Demko's the better pick, but Ottinger has such a good playoffs. And I have like no Ottinger because I just keep getting Demko, but I just feel like I can't click it. I can't click on Ottinger over Demko. Does it matter?
I personally preferred Ottinger. I feel like there's pretty low risk that Dallas is like a quote unquote bad team this year. And while I don't think Vancouver is going to get worse by any stretch, they should regress a tad. And like, if Demko doesn't have a stellar season, he could be in a world of trouble. Versus if Ottinger has a season like last year, where, let's face it, he was not that good, he still was perfectly fine because of just how good the team was in front of him. So I think there's more safety in Ottinger personally, and so I take him. I think I have some Demko though. It's not like I'm fading him entirely.
Yeah, well, I just like it's sort of like Dallas went out and got the Smith. I think that's a real backup. Slovis is, maybe okay. I just feel like I don't know. I believe in Demko
Slovis.
more. No, you're Shelovs.
Damn, that's disrespectful.
Shelovs. This is difficult because I really almost just want to double tap goalie here, but I don't think I can overlook Matt Boldley. I don't have enough. He just every time I want Matt Boldley, he goes before I can get to him. Really like a lot of these teams so far, other than yours.
Of course.
No, I'm just kidding. Would you have taken Boldley if he got there, or were you taking if Boldley and Sorokin were there?
I would have taken Sorokin.
Okay, yeah, me too.
I have so much Kaprizov. Like I'm basically getting Kaprizov at pick 6, pick 7, pick 8, and sometimes even pick 9. And I'm not that worried about stacking him with his teammates. Because I kind of think that the top round players don't really matter. It's cool to get Mitch Marner with Austin Matthews, but like they score so many of the goals that it doesn't really matter. Like if they have a great season, they're probably scoring a ton, and like, yeah, assists are fun, but they're not what drive spikes. Actually, I'm not sure if Billy's posted this yet or if he's working on it. I don't know if he's in here, but we were talking a bit about correlation between like individual stats and spike weeks. And so obviously that's a piece that might fit well over at Spike Week, so he could be writing it up. But we basically were going back and forth. I shared some data with him, like weekly bite size, week level individual stats, and he ran like this big correlation matrix, and it said exactly what you would expect it to say. But basically, goals are all that matter for Spike Weeks, and it's actually kind of cool. You would think games played matter a lot for Spike Weeks, but it matters a lot more for usable weeks than it does to Spike Weeks, which feels a little bit redundant, like, again, reverse logic type deal. But I do think it is noteworthy that goals are just so damn important. And if you're taking a guy in the first, 15 round, there are 15 picks who doesn't have 50 goal upside, you're probably doing it wrong. So, I'm not that worried about stacking them, I guess is my point there. Just because it doesn't matter who they play with. They're going to be absolute superstars.
Okay. Well, I love to hear that. I agree. I get the point you're making. And again, it's going to somewhat filter in like what you're saying into my video a little bit, where it's like, I mean, there's just not that many examples, honestly, of like Toronto is probably the best one of like, if you're right on Matthews, you could be right on Marner, and it might work. It might there's not that many teams where it's, there's really three at the top where it's like the Kale McCarr, Rantanen, Yossi, Forsberg, and then Marner, Matthews. And Kucherov, Gensel. Other than I guess Kaprizov, Boldy. All right, there's a million. Never mind. That was good. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, and it's funny that you say it like that, because part of me thinks like kind of listening to that, I was thinking more about Nashville though, of like, what happens if, you get, I don't know. I mean, like, if goals are all that matter, like, why not consider Forsberg, Stamkos if it ever happens? And like, I feel like it's kind of like, well, they eat each other's lunch, but could they also spike together in the optimal way? Well, but it's hard to get. I mean, it's not like an easy situation. You could force it, but then forcing it's probably stupid. So, I don't know. Just kind of a thought that came to my head as I'm grappling with that. Man, this sucks because I absolutely love some of these picks here, but I'm going to take Linus Ullmark and not let goalie. I'm going to take two of the top guys and see what gets back to me here. So for the audio listener, I have Forsberg, Panarin, Boldly, Demko, and Ullmark. I love this double tap goalie. Like when you draft at the end, Numi kind of, he got 12 and it sucks. And it's like, well, yeah, it does suck, but like you could win wing and goalie while you're not probably catching center, in my opinion, as easily. Like the drop off so big. So that's kind of the way I attack it as much as possible. It's like, well, let's try to figure out like winning those two positions. So I'm often, when I'm drafting at the end, double tapping goalie early, loading up on wing, just trying to run those positions. And then if I can catch fire with any player / a correlation, which I'm hoping to do, then you really start to give yourself a chance to beat those McKinnon, McDavid, Matthews teams. And when you do, I think you're giving yourself a really interesting build moving forward, potentially, with players that might not move forward as much, just because of how valuable they, like, one of those guys is likely to be, but maybe even more than one of those guys. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think you're right. I mean, if you're gonna write off a draft the second you like join it, like I obviously disagree with that. But we got sort of duped by that in year one, because we ran through the data and it was like, oh my god, if you don't get McKinnon, Matthews, McDavid, you're screwed, because that's the way the first year of data we got was. And so we kind of went, oh, like, is that all that matters? Obviously, it wasn't all that matters. But like, it was really a big talking point. And then Kucherov and Pasternak happened last year, and Draisaitl sucks, and McDavid doesn't really have as stellar a regular season as you might think, despite his crazy weeks that were strewn in there. And it just sort of made it clear that, like, oh yeah, like any of these players can go absolutely ballistic. Like, it's not as simple as like, oh, I didn't get this, therefore it's over. Okay, I'm here on the clock.
Yeah,
I'm looking at Eden Hill in net. I'm looking at Joel Eriksson at center. I'm just gonna take Eriksson. I think this is the first Kaprizov Eriksson I've taken, and so I'm reaching a little bit, but I need a center pretty badly. And I've taken so many Sebastian Ahos lately that like I just wanted a different texture at center.
Yeah. So I guess again, I wrote an article about this after, I guess this would have been after, right? After the big center kind of explosion year, about like what do you do when you're not drafting a top four? And it held more weight at the time, because how do you win? You know what I mean? Like, how do you win without getting one of these guys felt a lot more relevant. It's not as relevant as it was. We kind of learned that it can, that these wingers can actually impact by so much more. And I think in general, I just feel like it's just like, again, like one of my biggest arguments is just like, we really don't know. So bet on being right in every draft. Like, draft like you're right is probably the way I'd put it in hockey. I mean, in every sport, you're probably doing that, but like, what does that look like? If I'm right on Forsberg, if I'm right on Panarin, that's kind of how I'm how I'm going to build. And I guess the point I was trying to get to that I lost the thread on is when I'm drafting late, I think I'm going to be a little bit more likely to stack a little bit, really try to pair things up, which is why I almost always do Forsberg, Yossi. I just have Panarin like a bit ahead of Jack Hughes and Makar and Yossi. So I just did it this time. But I'm more likely to do that stuff because I really, really want to try to capture some upside. But is that foolish? Like, should you? I don't know. It's a weird conversation because I feel like it's not as relevant as it once was because we know it. It doesn't really matter as much.
Yeah, I think once we were able to strip out the fact that the McDavid drafters that just simply screwed over their teams were the teams that were taking, other elite centers instead of filling out other positions. I feel like that evened the game a whole heck of a lot and sort of made it clear that like, oh, it's not about, it's not about quote unquote winning wing or winning, it's about not losing these positions. It's about not losing wing. It's about not losing goalie.
You're up.
Yeah, that's a problem. All right. Joey Wall, come on down.
I was like, there's an obvious pick here, but do you want it? Is the question.
Well,
I thought Wall was the obvious pick for you,
okay.
needing a second goalie. Like that was like Gustavsson goes. Like, there's Jari, Wall, and there's what's his freaking left, and then it's kind of a desolate wasteland. So yeah, I'm not the highest on that, but at 82 to go with Panarin, let's do it. He flips. He's going to continue to fall. What?
You have like a weird connection thing. I'm not sure if it's me, but it's like every couple of seconds it like drops. Just make sure everything's plugged in.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Working now.
Yeah. So I took Joseph Wall. I have Sorokin and Wall now in net. I'm doing a glance at the playoff week schedule just to make sure I basically want to have at least 4 starts or 4 games per week covered across my 3 goalies. So I'm just like looking for weeks where, I have 2 or 3 starts and just seeing if those overlap between Toronto and the Islanders at this point. And I want my last pick to basically cover one of those soft spots. So like right now, the last week of the finals, the Islanders have 3, Toronto has 2. I'm going to make sure that my next goalie has 4 games in that final week, regardless of, whether they actually see those starts. I don't care as much. I want to just have that upside potentially. So like Sam Montembeau's here. I could try and push him. He's probably not getting back to me. So that's sort of where my mind's at here. In case
Ottawa's hold on, I gotta double check. I wrote them all down and I thought I had them memorized, and I thought Ottawa was definitely one of the teams, but
one of what teams?
The teams that have the maximum number of games in the playoffs. Or the finals. It's Dallas, Montreal, Minnesota, Ottawa have the most. So I covered myself there. Vancouver is a 7 instead of an 8. So I'm at that. Like, I feel pretty well covered at goalie right now. I'm not going to worry about it all that much. I did do the Trocheck Panarin with Adam Fox. I don't think I have any Trocheck yet, and I don't know. He just seems to be a guy that people get into this sort of winger dead zone and they want to bet on again. I'm not saying you couldn't bet on him without Panarin, but it's just so much stronger of a connection if like they're 30 guys in. So why not? They have a brutal finals though, which is why I like supplementing it with a little bit of boldly. And like I already mentioned, some of that, that good goaltending. So it might not be a death sentence to triple stack Rangers when they have the worst finals. I think 5 games.
Yeah, this also is included in the Discord. If you go to the pinned, let's see. Yeah, if you go to the pinned like messages in there, you can see what in the finals weeks, like what the games look like. So let's see. McCurd's here mentions Florida, looking at the Florida row, you see they play a road back-to-back Montreal-Toronto and a road back-to-back Ottawa-Detroit. And that's a very good point. That is relevant when it comes to the goalies. It's a little lazy, obviously, for me to just be basing it on the number of games in the week. But maybe that's a specific case that you can just memorize rather than, trying to compare across while you're drafting, every single game for all the teams. That's obviously a bit more complex of a task to like figure out. So just another good note there. Obviously doesn't impact the players as much. But maybe if Florida's really good, possibly guys would rest. But not something that's overly likely to matter.
Yeah,
anyway.
No, definitely. Definitely. I don't know. I mean, again, like I do think that anyone that's pulls this up, like they pull it up and they're looking into the schedule for the finals, is doing already 95% more than like 5 drafters in most lobbies. I mean, maybe not these lobbies that we're in tonight, but as the slappies start jumping in, like you're taking micro edges on top of taking monster edges. Like people are going to be jumping all over themselves to take Tage Thompson. Like, you know what I mean? And you're going to get like, you're going to take Tage Thompson over Ovechkin. Cool. Like it's going to happen. People are going to do that. So you're back on the clock. You're 2 goalies, right? Sorokin, Joseph Wool. I don't think that's bad at all, but goalie kind of completely disappeared.
Yeah, it did. I'm not super worried about that. I think like obviously it'd be ideal to have a better option, but I'm not gonna cry about it. I think I'm just gonna take Erik Karlsson. It doesn't feel great to spend 2 picks, this high on like after you take Bouchard in the second round, but I'm perfectly fine with figuring it out. Like I don't love the construction of this team at this juncture, but it's nothing that a little Cutter Gauthier, Mason McTavish stack can't fix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I could tell you who I'm not taking here, and that's Mika Zibanejad. And I know ESPN is just sitting there like, he's 25th overall. What are you doing? He fits your stack. Quad stack the Rangers. But I'm not listening to them. I'm going to take Patrick Kane, who I think is a very, very good pick in this range. Even though last year I was a 0 on Patrick Kane, this year I like, it's kind of one of those things where like I was rewarded incorrectly again. Sometimes you can luck out. I didn't take any of him. He was actually very good and should have been better. It just didn't end up hurting me as much as it should have. So this year I'm gonna buy in. I think I think it's a fair buy. I know he's an old player, but like I do think he still has quite a bit left to give.
Yeah, that's one of the players that I'm really interested in digging into, and quite frankly, his deployment matters a lot too. If we know that he's playing with Larkin all year, for example, then he's an easy smash at his current ADP relative to the players around him. But if it's possible, he's just locked into a line with DeBrincat and Comfer. And they do the silly split power play nonsense from last year, which was a thing. It wasn't just that the Brinket was on the top power play. That was some of it for long stretches, but there were also occasions where it was Kane to Brinket on power play 2, Larkin Raymond on power play 1, and just sort of filling in dust balls around them. So if that uncertainty sort of makes itself quite obvious come training camp, I will be on the Patrick Kane train. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I grabbed Hischier. I was taking Michkov, I thought, no matter what, but I decided to wimp out and go Trocheck Nico Hischier. Just because I'm a coward. I know who you'll be taking if he gets to you, and I don't think Victor Arvidsson was that guy. So, you took Zibanejad. Whoa, plot twist, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't think he's great, but taking him ahead of John Tavares, Nazem Kadri, Nick Suzuki, Bo Horvat, I don't think that's crazy.
No, that's the right spot. I think that's where he should be landing. I mean, I like. What do you think? Like Hischier versus Zibanejad? like Tavares, like I feel like
I
that's
think
the range.
I prefer Nico slightly.
Yeah. Me too.
I'll
But again,
definitely
like that's the
have
range.
more Nico.
Yeah. What was his ADP
but
again? Not he
Benjed?
being 93. Okay, yeah, 93 is
Yeah.
wrong. 112, 114 is right. I feel like I'm like the anti-Zibanejad guy. Just kind of was betting against him over and over again, and it was just like this. Like look at his 5-on-5 numbers. Like look at what happened there with him and Kreider, and it's like eventually that ball's gonna snap completely on him.
What if?
And he's gonna. But
what if Riley Smith is the guy he needed to unlock that 5-on-5 play again?
Then get ready to learn Zibanejad league winner, everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I just think, especially like my Rangers video again. I haven't even haven't even started that process yet, really, on the Metro. But you're not going to be surprised to hear that I think if you draft Panarin, that Zibanejad's a take, because you're basically betting on Zibanejad getting back to form, which I really think was the reason that Panarin became so impactful was because Zibanejad just could not handle the 5-on-5 run and really couldn't be the top guy in the power play either. So like they really had to figure something out. And that was like, all right, Panarin, start shooting. And he's like, how many goals are too many? Yeah. It is like Panarin's season really was MVP in so many other seasons. And this year he finished like 4th. Pretty crazy. I think we forget.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, Austin Matthews had one of the most ridiculous seasons of the past 30 years and didn't even make it onto the podium. So I don't feel too bad about Artemi Panarin.
Guess Panarin's stat line, goals, assists. Just go.
42 and 70.
49 and 71. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, that's insanity. Are you kidding me? He was 1 up 50. And he like, it's just, again, like, it's just stupid nonsense. Like you can't be mad. Like, I think the one thing I'm going to say about that, again, we could definitely move on. The words are stupid, but like people were mad at Kucherov because he wasn't like playing the game with them. Like, oh, like, they were like trying to joke with him and he wasn't joking. And I was like, yeah, I'd be pissed too. He's getting robbed. Like he should absolutely win MVP. And no one's voting for him. And like, I get it. Like McKinnon, whatever. I'm not really going to argue that point as much as every single person that didn't vote him to be a top 3 guy should be, just put off into the sunset forever. But I just, again, like it's insane. Like you look at Kucherov stats and it's just like, this guy got 5th place votes. Like people are loony bins. All of this really to come together and say that the NHL is in an amazing spot, and I just can't wait for the season.
Yeah, it should be a wild one.
Like, yeah, all right. Well, while we're on the topic of the NHL being good, what do you think is going to be like? Okay, I'll just I'm not even going to try to make you guess what I want you to get to. Do you think the Four Nations face-off is going to suck?
Yes.
Why though? Like I think it's going to be good. I feel like everyone's just like, oh, it's going to suck, and I'm like, why? Like these players care. I don't get it.
I don't see why they would care. I don't think there'll be that level of intensity that you get from the Olympics. I think there is still a huge hesitation like on the Olympics. Like if there weren't reason to believe that the Olympics would just not be happening, then I could see them maybe spinning it a bit more into the like, okay, let's get fired up because we're going to what is it, Milan or wherever the Olympics are.
It's Italy.
2026. Yeah.
I think it's
yeah, like it's just not like there's no history behind it. And unless there's like a big financial prize, like it's just putting a lot on the line in the middle of a hectic season. I mean, the schedule this year is a little bit psychotic because they have to fit in that break to play these games.
Yeah.
I'm pretty worried. I think that it's just going to be a little bit of a dud.
I don't know. I like to believe it's going to be good. I just, again, like really the thing that I think you're like almost getting to is like the problem is that there's no Russia, which comes up right here with the Kaprizov thing, and of course,
Yeah.
whatever, right? What are you going to do? I can't. They're not in the Olympics. They're not, welcome in any of it. So like, what is the NHL going to do? Just be like, actually, they're fine. They can all play. Yeah, whatever. But that definitely takes away from what I think could be even a more special event. Like I think 6 teams, and really going back to the World Cup of Hockey, which was immaculate. Like one of my favorite memories of watching hockey. In other than the Olympics that happened, when I was a freshman in college, and like I just really hope
Yep.
that kind of stuff builds and builds and builds. Like Noah Lyles is one of the more recognized names right now. Simone Biles, like I'm not saying these hockey players are going to reach those levels, but like people watch the Olympics.
TJ
People that
Oshie
don't
pretty much did.
Yeah, I agree, and I
Yeah.
agree fully. It's just so long ago now that it's like you just forget about it. But like those types of moments and those types of athletes can transcend what, again, like nobody cares about track and field. Nobody cares about, like, I mean, I'm not saying nobody, that might be, but like, where do you watch it? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't, like hockey actually has a footing in the world in countries that, in a lot of countries. And like to think that the NHL has taken multiple opportunities and put them in the garbage can just makes me so mad. And I get it. There's a lot of other reasons. But like, to me, it's just like, no, it's Gary Bettman just not opening his change purse a couple of times to lose a little bit of money to make a long-term gain. And like, yeah, would it have had the same impact in Fuang Chong or wherever it was? Like, probably not. Do the South Koreans care about hockey? No, but people care about the Olympics, and they care about sports that they never care about, let alone a sport that's actually, like, again, I'm not saying everyone's a hockey fan, but like people care about hockey. So I'm just really excited to see international hockey again, is kind of my point. And I just hope that, like, I don't even think it's going to be amazing. I just hope it's good. What would make it good?
I mean,
if any team besides Canada wins. I'm not even going to say America. Like if it's Sweden, Finland, US, Canada, right? Yeah. Like if any team besides Canada wins, it's going to be a smashing success. In my opinion, like I think it's like you couldn't fail at that point.
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
I guess I don't care. I certainly don't care who wins it personally. Hopefully we get to play DraftKings for it. I'm not hopeful though.
Yep.
So like
No, probably not. What?
Yeah.
What's actually the worst? I didn't even look at this. They scheduled during the NBA All-Star break. That would really suck for our purposes.
I did not consider that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if the NBA, because the NBA just today announced an in-season tournament. I'm not sure if it's the same as their. Okay, so NBA All-Star game is February 18th. I think that's smack dab in the middle of it.
My light went out, and I'm not sure why.
Let's see.
Hold on.
February 18.
How do I look right now?
Yeah, there's no regular season games from February 10 to 21. So there you go. We lost.
Yeah, but and Numi makes a good point. Like, didn't even watch the last one without. And like, I mean, of course, I checked it out from time to. I mean, I was betting on it though because I have problems. But yeah, if I wasn't betting on it, I honestly wouldn't have cared that much. And like, it was just. I don't remember who won. I have no idea. Like that's what I was thinking about. Like, who won the last? I have no idea.
Was it Russia?
I almost feel like it was the Association of. I don't think, but I mean, again, was it literally? They had the whole designation. I have no idea who I want to take here. Oh my god, I just don't think there's any correlating pieces I can get. So I guess I'm gonna do this, but. I don't feel good about it. I feel I like the player a lot, but I don't. That's not who I really wanted to take there.
I mean, twist my arm, guys. Twist my arm.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Canada won with NHLers, but that streak ends. Like, who would you take? Oh, Shea. Yeah, I know. I was considering it. Just double tapping defense and going Fox, Harley, Shea. I feel like a guy like Fox is just. I like to get another floor guy, and Harley is okay with that, but I'd like one more guy with upside like Theodore, but I didn't do it. I really wanted Seth Jones. It just didn't get to me. Can't complain. Yeah, always good to talk about that kind of stuff. I really, 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 really think international hockey matters a lot to the sport and to the trajectory and the growth. Okay, Billy Jones also. I haven't really been looking at the chat because I can't keep 3 screens up right now. I got to fix that. But just showing up, I see Victor Trocheck. I struggle with him, and I think his raw numbers from last year are inflated by his D, which isn't spiky. Yeah, I mean, no, this is I believe my first share of Trocheck. I think he's just been. I mean, again, like I think the reason why this is my first share is mainly because he was going higher. He started to fall. I still think 87 is too high, but like I do think he's above this entire next class of centers, not by much. But again, no, he probably fits in with Larkin, okay-ish. It's not spiky, but I think when you take a guy like Panarin, it kind of just magnifies him just enough for me that like when that gets there together, it could be even more impactful. And while their final schedule sucks, like they do have, I think, tied for the most games leading into the finals, which I do like. I don't know. Do I think he's going to repeat? No, but I definitely I don't think he's going to massively. There's no like massive reason for worry on him to like being much worse. Like he had good rates. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I guess I just don't really think about him that much. Like he always gets drafted too early.
Yeah, I don't know. He had 77 points last year. It's not like he was straight up better than, Barkov, Larkin. Like it's not like he's going where he goes because his defensive stats. Like I think those are just kind of a bonus. Like especially when you're already betting on Artemi Panarin.
When you play with Panarin, you're just luckily playing with one of the best players in the world, and it just helps everything. You know what I mean? So it's like when you bet on Panarin to be as good as he was last year, you're betting on him as well. So the argument, I think it's more the Panarin effect than anything that leads to all of it getting magnified.
Yeah, when I do take Rangers teams, like you're saying, now you have Panarin and Trocheck, those guys are going to have to be really good to get you to the finals. Like there's pretty much no way that they're fine and you advance there. When you get to the finals, you're going to need a lot of help reinforcements wise. So like that's one spot where I would be pretty sure, LA, like let me grab, Kempe Fiala or, a back end Anze Kopitar or just something like that to just sort of say like, hey, I'm going to need, to fill in the week where Panarin has 2 games and Trocheck has 2 games or else I'm not winning the big money. So like I would be pretty intentional about doing that specifically. I cannot believe someone took Elvis. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so there goes my idea. I figured I was just getting a last round Elvis.
I noticed you took Gaudreau, so I was wondering. I was like, are you probably taking Marchenko? I don't need to winger anyways, but that's a correlation I definitely think is worth buying on now before I think training camp, like you were saying, the beats are kind of hitting that drum. Go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, Line has flown up so high. It's ridiculous. Marchenko's the non-Johnny Gaudreau guy that I think you want on Columbus. There's just, I don't get the Line thing, but we've had this argument before, and there are people in the chat who do want Line, so like whatever, you can have it. I'll take last round Marchenko.
Oh boy, God, everything kind of dried up. I'm gonna take Gostisbehere. I'm still drafting him. I don't really care what anyone else thinks. I like him. I was considering Luke Hughes, but I don't know. I find that to be. Honestly, I feel like both of them are the same bet. And I don't know. I just think Brent Burns is actually cooked.
Yeah,
and if he's cooked, then Gostisbehere gets, and Gostisbehere gets run. Like I think you could shelter him correctly in Carolina.
Yeah, that's the problem. He's sheltered.
Yeah, but
Like,
that's why he's like a last round power play one defenseman on a good team. Like, you know,
maybe. Like he might be a power play
center
one defenseman.
really, really got.
Yep.
I don't even want to be here. I'm either taking Cooley. Yeah, I think Adam Fantilli. I feel like if you're going to buy on one of those two guys, you might as well buy on the guy that has the rate, the coming into the NHL rate stats that excite you. I don't know. I don't mind this draft at all. I'll just read my team quickly. I don't really want to go into too much. We'll go into a little bit of detail, but I'll go position by position. I started with Trocheck at center, Heishier at center, and Fantilli at center. At wing, I went Philippe Forsberg, Artemi Panarin, Matt Boldley, Seth Jarvis, Patrick Kane, Arturi Lekin, Nick Schmaltz. Defense, I have Adam Fox, Thomas Harley, Shane Gostisbehere. Goaltending, I have Demko, Olmark, and Arison. I think that's a ton of starts. Just the three guys that I really believe in. So I feel amazing in net. I feel incredibly good at wing. I think I have a ton of top end talent and a lot of spiky guys in Jarvis, Lehkonen, and maybe Patrick Kane. Like, kind of it's your last winger in. What are you going to do? Don't love my center or defense, but somewhere's got to kind of take a hit. And I just kind of, with Adam Fox, it's like, if I'm saying that Trocheck and Panarin are getting there, Fox could be fine and hit some spike weeks with points. But Harley is a goal scorer, and I think that a lot of stuff we talked about kind of makes me think like a guy like Thomas Harley may actually be a bit more valuable than meets the eye, just because he does have a more elite goal scoring upside from the point than anyone else in that range.
Yeah.
So might as well buy in the spike weeks there.
Let's see. I think there is a stat that is true, but let's just verify. Yeah, Thomas Harley was tied for the league lead in overtime goals this year.
Yeah, there's just something about that and about him.
It's
I
three,
don't know,
but still crazy. Like,
yeah,
I mean, the dude is just electric.
It's just like there were weeks I guarantee where he had, I mean, you could look, but I guarantee he had 2-3 weeks with 30 plus. Like the guy just he definitely can put it together. And yeah, so I think it was a good draft. I don't know. Do we want to do another one? I kind of want to get back to my video because I have a lot to do. I don't know. We could maybe we just talk for a couple minutes about the NHL news and then we get out of here.
NHL news. What do you have?
What do you think about the two offer sheets? I mean, Holloway and Broberg. I feel like was a bit surprised by the amount for Broberg. I like him. I think that like some of the numbers are either you could look at it and say, oh, like they're a bit, I don't know, disingenuous. Not really. They're like, I know the PDO Bender playoffs were one thing, and I understand that like you could try to poke a lot of holes, but like I think that he does have some upside and was a pretty highly touted prospect that kind of came together. Whereas like Dylan Holloway, I think is actually a really useful player that I bet he's probably going to lose. I mean, losing one of them is probably Broberg actually, but what do you think about that move?
Yeah, I haven't looked at their actual cap situation, but Evander Kane's like definitely headed for the LTIR train. Can they fit those guys under if Evander Kane goes on LTIR? Is that something you've read into at all?
No, I haven't looked at anything to do with Evander, but that would be the way out. I mean,
okay.
Do you?
Yeah. So
okay, I'm sorry about.
Just looking through this, it does feel like Broberg is going to be tough to stash.
Yeah,
because they're going to need to replace him with a contract. Yeah, that's probably the end of one of those two guys there. Okay. But yeah, I was also surprised that it wasn't Dylan Holloway who fetched the second and Broberg who fetched the third. But I guess that just goes to show the value of defensemen, versus quote unquote scoring wingers. It's not like Holloway was great at scoring or anything. Like he was, I think, a good player, and he will be a good player. But like D-men are just so revered if they even have the glimmer of being like your rangy up and down the ice two-way type impact defenseman. And Broberg certainly, looked better than Darnell Nurse in the playoffs, which, it isn't nothing. It's not like Nurse is the worst player on planet Earth. He might be overpaid, but like, Broberg definitely showed he could skate and hang with the big guys. So like,
and St. Louis doesn't have that. I mean,
yeah, that is true. That does also fill a pretty immediate need with Torrey Krug going out, a lefty shot, bit of speed to go with Falk and Parayko, and Nick Leddy's still got some range and speed, but
corpse.
It's not super likely that he's stealing a role from someone who's actually deserving of it.
I hope it leads to more of these offer sheets because I find them to be fascinating, and like I love the discourse, just around like, was this retaliatory? Like Edmonton kind of goes out and gets the GM immediately that like was kind of off limits, I don't know. I mean, again, like maybe not, maybe there's something to it. I know people were talking about that. I don't know, probably not. Like, I just think Barry Trotz is just going to be a different GM. Wait, that's the wrong team. No, it's Armstrong. Armstrong's in his last year because they've already handed it over to Steen. Sorry, I'm totally mixing things up right now. So he has the kind of the arm reach to say whatever, I'm done after this, and Alex Steen's taking over, so they can forgive me for my sins. I'm going to make my team better right now. Ryan Suter's with St. Louis. Never mind. They didn't need Broberg. They have Ryan Suter to fill that role. My bad. I was kidding.
That's sort of where I was.
They have enough guys that can block shots and be bad.
Scott Perunovich isn't gonna play in the NHL.
He's just not getting there. Tough break. And then the other thing, I mean, I already brought up Glass traded to Pittsburgh. I think that's like his best case scenario. I mean, he's not draftable, but like that's a team that
he's
just cycles through players. And like, what if he finds a spot on the side of Crosby or Malkin?
Yep.
I'm not draftable, but like I think he could be DFS relevant.
Remember Valtteri Puustinen? He's just going to be another one of those guys where you look and you're like, huh, he's playing with Evgeny Malkin tonight. Like, let me slide that in there. And I like Cody Glass. I think he had a really tough time last year, just with a lot of things. He's obviously dealt with a lot of injuries in his career. But like he was a serviceable, middle six player for a couple years before last year's train wreck. So this feels like a pretty good bet by Dubas. I don't really see the harm in doing so. Just get guys who have some amount of pedigree and some serviceability, and just hope that they can maybe be a little bit better than they've shown. Doesn't feel like the worst strategy in the world, but it's certainly not going to move the needle for fantasy, like you're saying. It doesn't matter right now.
The only thing that's going to matter is when Line A gets traded, which it does feel like that's coming to an end. But I mean, again, like every couple of days, there's a new story about actually Montreal's not interested, and it's okay. And then it's like Bill Guerin really wants him, just can't afford him. Great, that helps. Now, all right, then we're moving forward with this. Yeah, great stuff. Exciting though, more exciting than anything going on in the NFL right now. So that's good. That we're all of ESPN's talking about the offer sheets, I'm sure.
You go ahead and believe that.
The last thing, and it's right at the top two, but I don't really care about the Matthews thing at all. Like that seems to me to be like I think if you again, this is actually, it was a Puck Suit Patreon, but they said like they had to do something, but they actually couldn't figure out how to do something, so they literally, this is all they had left. Like they couldn't make a trade. They probably wanted to look into that, and just nothing was there. So after not being able to get anywhere near the value they felt was necessary to move, a Marner, this is all they had left. They were going to move the captaincy over to Matthews, and whatever.
Sure. John Tavares was on board, whether it's forced or not. who really cares?
It's just be so funny if they win the cup now and everyone's just like again, like they did it, they figured it out. Like it wasn't the fact they have like a generational goal scorer and two of the best wingers in the league. It's like, no, it's all along. It was just the captain that was wrong. Like I love it.
Yeah. The funny thing that was unearthed, or I guess brought to the forefront, was someone like responded to the tweet. I don't know who or whatever. But like, imagine the Leafs if Austin Matthews hadn't mooned that security guard, because
Yeah.
the rumor was that they were preparing to make Mark Matthews the captain, and then he caught some bad press because whatever, he pulled his pants down to a security guard like 2 weeks before that announcement, and so they were like, "Well, it's got to be John Tavares now." But just a funny little
Captain pajamas.
butterfly effect.
It really is. I the NHL is an hilarious league, and I guess this is better press than normal. So yeah, just a couple things there, but yeah, I'm gonna get back to the video. I really want to try to get this done so I can get the rankings video done as soon as possible, and then I'm kind of gonna be just dropping in the divisions, starting with the Atlantic, and I'd like to get it out as soon as possible. So yeah, I have 2 parts done. My concern is that the editing is going to take way longer than I'd like because it's going to be a little bit more rigorous, and I'm bad at it.
Okay, well, we wish you good luck with that. We will be back here next week. Stay tuned to the Discord, where we will be, updating anything that we do, be it videos or further posts. Obviously, stay tuned to Twitter as well. I am at Fake Moods. DJ's at DJ_Mitchell94. And yeah, shout out to Underdog for posting the $3 tournament, which if you tuned in last week, it was there last week.
Cover boy.
What's that?
It was the cover boy.
Okay, that's right. But yeah, that's filling. It's I believe now surpassed the fill rate of Best Puck Classic, which is pretty cool.
Wait. 11.4 to 12.5. I thought it was passed, but did Best Puck catch up? I could have swore it was like the same. I don't know, but yeah.
Maybe Best Puck had a lot of slows finish or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I don't know, but yeah, no, it's exciting. Like I really, really, really do think that the NHL product is only going to become bigger because of Best Ball getting bigger. Like all of the Best Ball contests filling, Underdog is getting bigger and getting more stuff. Like hockey fans are going to naturally come into that. Like there's enough sports fans, enough degenerates. So I'm optimistic. And like I said, like Barstool, they may be doing a bunch of nonsense, but they're doing Best Ball. And if people love the product, it's just, again, it kind of all comes together. So just keep letting people know about it. Like, you don't, like, again, like I'm not overbearing about this in my personal life, but I've introduced it to some friends, and some friends max contests now because it's like, no, this is actually the way more fun. Like I could spend, a $500 league for 12 people, or I could spend $500 on Best Ball. And like, I just think it's better. And I agree.
Yeah.
So just like, I don't know, to show people, like I have a friend that's like, I want to do one of those drafts with you sometime. I'm like, all right, meet me at the beer keep. Let's do one,
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a $3 entryway if you don't want to play with us in the $15. But yeah, it's literally the dog days of August right now. Drafts are really slow to fill, so the best place to know if a draft's about to fill is to get in the Discord. Usually someone will be in there and say, "Oh, we need 2 for a draft," and then you can sort of not have to wait for 7 hours at a time. But yeah, other than that, we will be back here next week. Check out my newsletter for part 3 of the manifesto if you have not already, and pop in the Discord to discuss if you have any questions or further comments. So, DJ, anything else before we close?
Nope. Just like, comment, subscribe, or whatever, or don't. It won't change anything.
Alrighty.
But okay.
Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Back here next week. Best of luck in your best ball drafts. From Doug, from DJ, from myself. Have a good stacking time, everybody, and we will see ya.